Three, two, one. Hey everybody, this is Victor. I'm here with Greg for part two. Actually, this is part two of the kind of case study interview. We're going to be talking about how Greg wrapped up his first 25K net profit flip. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Victor. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm excited for you because you just literally a couple days ago closed your first flip.
Yep.
And so just to be clear, so that's before taxes, after all expenses. So after every single expense
Right.
you can ever think of,
Right.
before taxes, we're saying 25K.
Yep.
Um, and yeah, just wanted to do this update video, share this next leg of your journey because it's been really exciting. And yeah, so I think last we spoke, and you'll have to kind of update me,
Mhm.
update us. So I think last we spoke, you had the deal under contract and you were about to close on, or where were we at before?
I think that's right. I think we had the deal under contract, and I was within just a few weeks of our projected closing date. I had lined up the money. I had a private lender who I've developed a relationship with over time, and we finally pulled the trigger on this deal. And I think other than that, we were literally just waiting for the title work to come back and for the title agency to be able to do the paperwork and close with me. So that did take a little bit of time, just because with the private lender and having to send some paperwork down to the title company's attorney, there was a little bit of lost
Yeah,
days here and there. So you've probably seen that same thing happen.
I've seen that happen. I remember with you because it was hurry up and wait. It's everything's lined up. And we're just gonna wait for the title. I think it was a week or two. It was a while. I think.
Yeah, it took. I mean, from this moment, I thought we were ready to close.
Yeah.
All the verbal ready to close, and then us having an actual paperwork ready to close was a good solid week, from one Friday to fully through the next week until the next Monday, kind of thing. It was painful-ish for me. I mean, and probably painful-ish for the seller as well, because I know they wanted their check and gone. But yeah, anyway, the interesting thing is, I don't think I told you this. I still couldn't pick the seller out of a lineup. Um,
Really?
I've never met the guy.
Oh, okay. Do you guys
Yeah.
just close at different times?
Well, he's been living in Georgia. This is the whole thing. I've met his mom, so there wasn't I met nobody.
Yeah.
But it was a Fox method lead.
Yes.
I think we covered that last time.
I think so. Yeah, which I teach in the program, right?
Yeah.
So okay. So worked. You got the lead. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So I got the lead using a method that you teach in the program, that you labeled as Fox method, which I don't think is copyrighted or anything, but the basically it's Facebook group marketing.
Yeah.
And got the lead. Ultimately, the guy had moved out of the house and he was living in Georgia. He's an electrician, and was going to be on the road for quite a while because of his skill set is in high demand other places. And rather than go on the road and then come home and then go back on the road, he convinced his wife, hey, let's buy an RV and let's just move to where the job is. The kids are little. And that it worked for them. That's what they wanted to do. They just needed to sell the house. And so after, getting their attention via the Facebook groups, I met with his mother at the house, looked at the house, basically Facebook messaged him, back and forth. Then we got on a phone call and we talked numbers, and it took, I think that evening we had a contract. So by the time I talked to you, we'd had the contract. I still never met the seller. It took, again, longer than I wanted, longer than he wanted, but within a reasonable time frame to close the deal. And then since then, you and I discussed a lot of the options that I had with, what to do with this, and I went into a lot of details about, do I, change cabinetry, change countertops. I even started asking about, do I buy new doors or do I just paint the doors? And I had my agent talk to me about that kind of stuff. So I wanted to get kind of both sides, because your side is the experience of the flipper, and her side, she sells right here in town. So it's well, what's selling and all that kind of stuff. And ultimately, we did none of that. Ultimately, we didn't do anything. Literally, me and my son, who was home on leave, we went over there for about 2 hours and we just swept and cleaned all the garbage that was left. It wasn't much garbage, but just literally just stuff. put it in the back of my truck, and took it to the dump. And that's all the work we did. And so we went with what you and I would call a wholesale or whole tail.
Right. Yeah.
Is kind of the term that we use in this. So basically, I bought the property and just cleaned it up enough to be presentable. I mowed the lawn. You'll see that here in the numbers, and then put a sign in the yard. And literally, it was a lot of it was, I think you were the one that prompted me, hey, what could you sell it for if you just put it on the MLS? And I didn't know. I had thought I had an idea, but I asked my agent, well, what do you think? And she gave me a number that I liked. And it was actually a little lower than the number we ended up selling it for. So that was the other thing we haven't talked about. I actually sold this for over list price. And so I realized that list price is just a guess anyway. And so ultimately the sales price is what somebody will actually crack their wallet open for. But should I go ahead and share the numbers here?
Yeah, so let's do that. Let me make sure you can share your screen. So you can share your screen while you're pulling that up. So I want to share what I mentioned. So you and I were going back and forth with regards to, there's different like flipping strategies, like different rehab strategies, I should say. And for this one, we decided like, hey, let's go with a minimal and see how that goes. And it worked out great. There's different ways to do it. So I want to mention that to the folks who are watching. Like you can fix it up and do a full rehab. You can do like a medium rehab. I would call yours like less that whole tail model. And just in getting to know you and the property, it's like, hey, let's just do the bare minimum. And I think that worked out well. So these are the numbers. Okay, so you're sharing your screen here.
Yeah, so you can see this right now.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So yeah, you can see this is the bare minimum, exactly what we talked about. Basically just buying the property. We didn't do much more than mow the lawn and turn the utilities on, and then putting it right on the MLS. So ultimately, this was the final sales price of $98,500. We listed it for $95,000.
Oh, nice. Okay, so you really did get above asking. Okay, awesome.
We did. We actually had 4 offers, all told. Of those 4, by the time they were all 4 told that there was multiple offers, one of them backed out right away, and one of them backed out the next day before our deadline. And we were left with, only one of them backed out. One of them we rejected because it was another cash buyer, and he was offering way less than everybody else.
Yeah.
Thinking the cash, was kind of a bigger flex than it really is.
Yeah.
But we rejected them right away, and then we just basically went with 2 that we were just kind of like, well, which one has the stronger? We didn't even go with the highest money. We just went with which one has the stronger offer. Based on it was a conventional versus FHA and things like that. And there's probably way more than we need to go into right now. But that's
no, you're good. When you're selling a house, people think it's like, oh, just sell a house, but there's a lot of variables that go into like who you sell it to and what you sell it for. So that's what I think we discussed that too. And you have your realtor to help you out, because not just, okay, here's the highest price. Like, okay, where's the financing coming from? Okay, what's the escrow? Like, what type of motivation do they have? If they're like, whatever, I don't care about this house, I can back out. Or if they like really love the house and they want it and are willing to work for it. There's a lot of different factors. We don't need to go into it, but I know we had that discussion. And so you chose these guys, 98.5.
95 wasn't the highest offer, but it was higher than what we listed it for. And like I said, they had strong motivation to go through with the deal. This is the closing cost. That's my side. So that's me paying for my agents, basically paying the full agent's commission. So they had to split that. Plus, there's a couple of I had to pay the title company on the backside, on the closing side. So all of this, represents all those numbers plus a couple $100 in taxes for the time that I owned it. This is what I bought it for. So $57,700. And you might be wondering, what is that all about? Well, that's a negotiating strategy that I learned.
That's right.
In the course. So, and that's because, the seller at the time, I offered him something slightly less than this. And so because it made sense out of the course, I said, well, what if he wanted more. And so I said, well, what if you take this? And I literally just added that to the number added all these 7s really. So I think I added whatever it was. I put in the 770 because that's, a technique you taught, and it's not really splitting the difference. And there's a lot of, I think that's even a book too. But ultimately that's the price he liked. him and his wife, the sellers, and that's what we went with. This is my closing costs on on the acquisition side.
Purchase, yeah.
So yeah, so you can see it's this is relative to the purchase price. This is actually pretty hefty.
Good point.
Right? Yeah, because you normally see this in about the 2% range, and it's a little bit bigger than that. But I think some of these numbers are kind of they're never really a percentage so much as just a real cost. Like I think that some of the recording fees are just exactly what it is times the number of pages, and then some other stuff. So anyway, so I looked at that and I was like, that seems like a lot, but once I looked at the actual Alta statement, it made more sense. So all told, that's my profit before expenses. So this is just the sales costs going into it. The actual expenses in the flip portion, the stuff that I had to pay for kind of out of my pocket, I paid for an insurance policy, which you recommend. I think it's a really good idea. And I found a company here in town. I actually went with a company, a guy I knew here in town. He gave me a builder's risk policy, and that's what we paid for it. We'll get some of that back because we only used a month, but there's some of it is fully earned, which I think you talk about in your course as well. That you're not going to get like it's not a prorated amount that'll get refunded. It'll be a little less than half of that. Garbage and water is through the city, and then there'll be a lot of this is just deposits. So there's no way I spent $331 on garbage and water. A lot of that's just deposits. I'll get my deposits back, and then I'll probably have to use. Ideally, I'll use them again at some point.
Yes.
And then that's a guess. We haven't gotten the final bill from the power company, but that's a guess because again, I only had the power on in my name for about 4 weeks. This guy I've already paid. I paid him to go out and trim trees and bushes and mow the lawn, and the first time was about $300, and this other $80, or I'm sorry, the other 90 in there that represents pass number 2, which mostly I was just trying to keep the code enforcement guys off my back while I owned the property, because they'd already come by once from the time I contracted to the time I closed. So I was like, no, you stay away from me. And then, of course, I paid the home inspection. You absolutely recommended it. I wholeheartedly believe, and especially if I'm going to take it down, that this right here is worth every penny that you pay. It gave me some good insight into some of the issues with the house in the event that we were going to do some work to it. And then ultimately, this is what I paid my private lender. What's not on this sheet of paper is this $6,000. She loaned me a full total of $88,000, which would have been this number plus the amount to cover this side, plus the amount to cover renovations. We ended up not needing to use the majority of that, but she asked for a flat fee of $6,000 on that $88,000. So that was nice because it's easy math. So
sorry to cut you off there. So basically, like, you were no money out of your pocket into this deal, essentially, or extremely minimal. Like, you didn't have to come up with 58K or whatever.
That right there represents every dime that I had to pay out of my pocket.
Yeah, so it's like $1,000.
It's like $2,000.
$2,000, yeah. So which is not bad for you to make 25. I mean, I think that's a really good.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's some marketing costs represent. Well, no, I get it off Facebook.
It's free.
So basically free.
Those are free. Okay. And I think the other thing I wanted to mention is how quick. I don't think we mentioned like how quick once you owned it, closing table to closing table. Like, how quick was that? How quick were you in and out?
35 days.
35 days. So you made basically 10x. So you put in 2,000, you got out 25,000 basically in 35 days, which is amazing. That's huge.
Yeah, it is. It's huge.
Yeah. So you made 24,790 before taxes.
Yep. Yeah. So and then of course the taxes on this will be different for everybody, but for me, I guesstimated about $3,500. I've already put that aside to pay for the taxes.
Yeah.
So hopefully
great flip. And I know, great flip. I mean, I couldn't be happier for you. That's amazing. That's great money, quick, and now you can do more. And that's actually a really good point. You have another one under contract, if I'm not mistaken. Like, you're actively working on your next one.
Right, I am. We talked about. I've actually got 2 under contract. One's just not here, and hopefully I can reach out to some folks in Mobile to kind of to basically push that through and make some money on it. And I've got one that I just contracted on that is here, that's local to me, that we might end up doing the same thing.
Nice.
At the very least, I think I'm much more confident in taking it down. Because I think like we talked about on the last video, I've been wholesaling for a while. That's been my background recently. I don't think we talked about last time. I have done a wholesale before, but it was with a partner, and the other partner made more money. He brought everything, but he made more money than I did. That was just a partnership I created. And this is the first time I've done it. I won't say it's completely by myself, because that's not what I mean. But what I mean is, I basically everybody else made their money at the sheet you just saw. Like, they've already made their money on that. This is the first time that I didn't partner with somebody, for the actual flip. I found a money lender. She had a mortgage against the property, which secured her money. So, however you want to call her partnership, but that's what she was part of. The agent got paid in the numbers you just saw there. So in this case, this was my deal. It's the first time I've done this, by myself. If that makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense. Yeah, no, it's huge. And I know we were talking about before we hopped on here, like, what if we take some of your wholesales and turn them into this sort of thing? And I think we were saying, like, if you were to wholesale this one, maybe 12,000, maybe probably like 5 to 12,000 would make sense as a wholesale fee. But now you took it down, and I mean, the money was pretty quick too. 35 days, and you made 25. So you basically doubled your wholesale fee, which is powerful.
Yeah, good point. Because you're absolutely right. Because absent of the only thing that would ever stop me from taking down or from purchasing a property that I got under contract, it's always the money.
Right.
Well, so the open door to the money lender changed everything about this. It changed number one, changed like my price going in. I could offer a price that was high enough, because you're right. If I had gone to wholesale this at the price that I bought it for, that 57,770, 58,000 for easy math, and I've been getting wholesale fees of 10,000 and up. If I wanted to get that, I'd have to sell it for $68,000 to $70,000. I don't know that there's cash buyers out there that would look at this deal and go, yeah, that's a great deal at $70,000, enough to go through the process of buying the contract. But given the the nature of the market and the wide reach of the MLS, I was able to find a buyer who is willing to pay, in this case, $98,000. They're happy to pay that. They actually got lending for that. They got conventional lending from a bank backed by, I think, by the FHA. Actually, no, they did not get an FHA loan. Anyway, they got lending backed by a bank, and they're happy with that. And that was a full, so for me, it was double the money easily, probably more than that. And it didn't take much longer, and it didn't really take much more actual effort. The biggest thing, the key ingredient there was that private money lender, or just the ability to close on it, period. Whether it would have been hard money, private money is cheaper, but I realize not everybody has that access yet.
This is still exciting. I mean, you still made a huge profit, and you can do more of it. And you're definitely on track for 6 figures, by the way. So that's a huge thing. You do 3 or 4 of these per year, and that's 6 figures. So on top of your wholesaling, whenever you don't decide to wholesale.
This might become my new strategy. We talked about that a little bit as well. Is that this might become my new strategy, as long as I've got the access to the money. Don't change any of my due diligence. Don't change any of the way I do. The diligence. The way I estimate the value, the way I estimate the repairs. Don't change any of that. Just closing the property. And then, at least during this time frame, who knows how long will last, the MLS has a wider reach of hungry buyers.
Yeah, I like it. With all of that in mind, like, would you recommend others work with me as well?
Oh yeah, absolutely, Victor. Now, this has been and this is only one. So I know that we're going to do more, and I'm going to do more, and I'm going to be continuing to ask you for advice. But yeah, absolutely, because the biggest peace of mind that I had going into this deal was that I was able to bounce all of this off of you. And it's one thing to bounce all of this information off of somebody who might have a rudimentary understanding, but like, I couldn't even bounce this information off my agent. Like, at the level of, because she deals in a different part of the real estate business. She's not flipped. She's, understands it, not even academically, just sort of, hey, look, it exists, sort of the same way you and I might understand that space travel exists. We can get to the moon, but I don't know how to do it, right? Whereas I can ask you, who've done it, about, some of the tips, techniques, and tricks, and the pitfalls as well, and the access of being able to. And I don't want to share too much, but I mean, I can get on here with Voxer and ask you a question, and you respond like almost immediately, usually, and if it's not immediately, it's within just a few moments, with a fully detailed answer to my question. And it's not just like that's in the conversation. If your fully detailed answer to my question brings up new questions, I ask more questions. I'm very appreciative of that side of the mentorship program, because sometimes this stuff, it doesn't stop. It doesn't, especially as long as I am learning, I'm always going to have questions about, well, wait a minute, what about this? Without trying to be a nag, but I mean, if it's a thing I haven't done yet before, I definitely need, the experienced voice, I guess, the sounding board there,
Yes.
to help out with that.
It does help a ton. Like, okay, I have a question, let's get it answered, and then versus like you just don't know and you might just learn through trial and error, and that's that's probably the worst thing to learn. Yeah. But no, I'm excited for you. You got this first one, you got the second one lined up, and this really opens you up for future stuff, and it's exciting to say the least. As we wrap up here, any last thoughts? Any last thoughts as we wrap up here?
I mean, basically, and I know because I see these same videos from the other your other students that you do with. So I know that at some point there is somebody watching these videos, whether they've already signed up with you or whether they're just wondering whether they want to sign up with you. And my final thoughts is, hey, look, don't wonder about it anymore. The level of learning that you're going to get from Victor, and I've been a part of other mentorship programs or other training programs, and some are good, some are bad, but I've not gotten nearly as much value out of any other program that I've gotten with Victor's program. There's tons of stuff in the actual the modules, number one, but then the access directly to Victor makes it, for me, that's the biggest, that's the golden nugget. And I realize that may not be everybody's thing, but for me, that's the golden nugget of being able to have that sounding board from an active flipper who is still doing this right now. Being able to ask those questions and get them answered and have credibility in the answer.
That's true. Yeah, it's not just giving answers like, hey, this actually, you go out there and it works. I have a lot of students who are like, oh, they're surprised when my advice works. Like, oh, I didn't know it worked. So it's like, yeah, of course it does. No, I appreciate the kind words though. I know we've been in a couple programs together, and like you've worked through a couple of them. So I do appreciate that. It's like you've done quite a bit. So that's good to hear. Yeah, well, that's all I have, but again, appreciate you taking the time to hop on here, share your story, and this is just like the next leg of your journey, and like the next one, like you're doing really good, so just keep it up.
Cool, thanks. Yeah, hopefully we'll do another one soon, and yeah, I mean, I know I'll do another one soon. Whether we'll do another one soon, I don't know.
I'm open to it. Yeah, how Greg hit 6 figures or something like that. Yeah, I know Greg, with this next one, I know we didn't really share numbers too much, but I really like the numbers on this next one. That might be it's probably going to be a bigger spread, which is good.
Yes. Yeah.
So cool. Exciting stuff. Cool. Well, appreciate it.
Thanks.